Facebook. Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Actually, I'm just thinking about something. I don't want to. I don't want to touch wood. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm glad Facebook so far. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but it hasn't done that thing where it doesn't upload for ages. It seems to have sorted that problem out, so hopefully that's sorted out for good. But anyway, it's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video, recording on Facebook and YouTube live again as usual. And this is part 4. Welcome to part 4 of my dream vision ahead for Italian football, whatever you want to call it. What I hope for Italian football to achieve in the future, preferably ASAP. And I guess these are things I dream that. I could have said in point number 40, 30, sorry, I guess. I've not got to point 40 yet, sorry. Stumbling on my words again. But yeah, I could have said by 2030 or ASAP really, but anyway. These are pointers number 31 to 40, and as per usual, I dream to talk about, and sometimes I like to mix it up, but generally speaking, hence as per usual, I like to talk about what I hope I will have achieved. So I'm just trying to make sure Facebook is uploading as well. So hopefully at least one, and preferably both of these will upload. And as I said in the past, before, I would love to be able to record on so many different platforms. I have at least a copy somewhere, and sometimes I'm even pernickety or whatever it is with like how the thumbnail is and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I hope to look at like what I hope to achieve in the future. So I hope you enjoy it. And I've got a cap that says Portugal on, but I'll come to that in a second. But I know I normally like to wear these caps, a different one for each video for some reason, but my silly habits. But habits. Sorry, anyway. Sorry, my jokes don't any better, but here goes. So as I say, these are pointers number 31 to 40. So here goes. So number 31. As I say, by 2030, Antric or ASAP, preferably ASAP, I dream that, I guess it can't really be before 2030 unless FIFA changes to do what I heard they were going to do at one point, which is I have the World Cup every 2 years. But other than that, I think because the World Cup normally comes every 4 years, and if we don't get our act together, this would be we'd be lucky to do this. But I dream that Italy will be the most successful footballing nation at club and country level. I think we're quite behind the Spanish teams in terms of like their trophy wins in European competitions, unless UEFA in this case adds so many different trophies, or FIFA adds more club competitions, and Italy can win those. It would feel a bit like the cheating sort of way, or through the back door, or whatever you want to call it. But talking of cheating, or rather trying to cut cheating, I dream that Juventus and other Italian teams will learn from like the Calciopoli scandal and things like that, and make sure we cut corruption in Italian football and that kind of thing. But yeah, I dream Italian football will be as successful as possible at club and country level, and win as many trophies as possible. And I dream to be part of that. So I dream I myself and other neurodivergent people and people with mental health problems like myself will be able to help Italian football to become number one. As I said before, like I dream that people see there's a method to the madness, a positive showing of neurodiversity and mental health and that kind of people with mental health problems and neurodivergent conditions and whatnot. So I dream to get as many mentally ill people and neurodivergent people, as well as Anglo-Indians and the Eurasians, basically people with things in common with me, I guess, to show what we can do, which would go along with the theme of like showing a positive side to neurodivergent as well as mental health problems. And I hope I haven't forgot anything, but I think I'm going to move on to number 32. So number 32 on that note, that requires, I suppose, learning, which I've talked about before. I normally say I like to achieve what I've talked about in parts 1, 2, and 3. So I dream that, I dream that myself and other neurodiverse people will be part of helping Italian footy, soccer, calcio football, or whatever you want to call it. As I said before, in terms of sharing our ideas, helping them to practice, giving practicing opportunities and things like that. And I talked about what I'd love for Italian teams to learn from others, including like Portugal, as well as Spain, their neighbours, France, maybe even Mexico, and others, especially Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Spain, France, and teams like that. The EPL, the English Premier League. When it comes to national teams, I suppose Spain, France, Brazil, Argentina, and Germany are the main ones to learn from, I think. But even like mistakes to avoid. But yeah, I don't know why I said that, but yeah, but anyway. But yeah, having said that, what mistakes to avoid and that kind of thing. But what mistakes have other football teams at club and triple country level made? Some mistakes to avoid, but also what has helped teams to achieve success, like Real Madrid, I think, are the benchmarks. But how has Spain helped to produce good young players? How has France benefit from immigration in football? And I think immigration is pretty much 100% benefit in football. I know it's not in terms of housing and jobs, but football-wise, I think it's almost 100% benefit. I think the only problem is when people are divided, I guess, and that can happen through immigration. But other than that, I think it's pretty much 100%. 100% benefit because you have more people to choose from. And I think as long as they pick players on merit, so you don't pick like your friends or anything political, it's like who's the best fit to take Italian football forward at club and country level. I think national team as well, well mainly, but also club teams like Roma and Juventus and Napoli and the rest of the Italian teams. But even like grassroots level things like what can Italian football learn and how can they improve it, also from even other sports, like what is something that Italian football maybe could even learn from other sports and from business, the world of business and the world generally, life itself, as I said before, like being a student of life. How can football be incorporated though in parks and schools on the curriculum and things like that? And I hope Italian football will be as good as possible. And most importantly, win trophies, have that winning mentality. Number 33, there's something I was going to say, but I think I'll say it a bit later in the video. But number 33, I dream to help to provide free footballing opportunities for especially younger Italians through the investments in footy, soccer, calcio, football, or whatever you're going to call it, pitches, stadiums, whatever the best term is, and academies and that kind of thing, especially for younger players, younger people, and for older people to pass on their skills, to lead by example, not smoke or drink or take drugs or things like that, and bring society together in Italy to bring the pride back to Italian football, be proud of each other and that kind of thing, through football and unite through football. As I say, I just put Italy in Andrigal for the football. But yeah, giving free opportunities and that kind of thing, and more people learning about coaching. I'd love to get rid of like the ultra mentality, like hooliganism and that kind of thing, and for older people to pass on their skills and see what younger and older people can learn together, and how to produce great young players. Like how does Brazil? So it doesn't matter what age people are, but they can start from a really young age to play football and that kind of thing. Germany, Argentina, places like that and whatnot. And I think Italy needs to catch up on that youth development and play at least 3 under 21 players in all senior games, kind of thing, as well. Yeah, giving especially young people opportunities and look at ways that they can still have child protection and safeguarding, whatever we've got here in the UK. I don't know if they use that term overseas, but at the same time, young people are getting those opportunities. Someone who is involved in hooliganism or crime or generally or whatever could get involved in coaching instead and learn how to coach, or at least pass on their knowledge. Like, so if there was a person who could have been a footballer but then got an injury and didn't make it or whatever, they could pass on what they learned or whatever. So older people can pass on what they learn and teach younger people and put a old head on younger shoulders, which I think is a really good thing. I'm a great believer in start young. Unfortunately, it's too late for me, but whether that's in business or football or whatever, again, I'm just putting it in Andrigal for the football. Yeah, learning in a safe environment, but ensuring that child protection and safeguarding doesn't prevent younger people from getting those coaching opportunities and getting to play football with older people, maybe with their parents taking them to a park as well. It's like older people saying, "Yeah, you can join our game and play that sort of level," and like not looking at the immediate result, but a bit of a long-term result. I know I'm not the most patient, as I said before, but looking at like saying, how do we develop for the future, especially like prioritizing some games. But yeah, I love for investors and sponsors to support that sort of thing. And I think that's one thing I was trying to remember as well. It's like I talked about like how there's rules within FIFA and UEFA, so governments and councils and whatnot, politicians, governments, councils, and all that kind of thing. They can't say to they can't get too involved in football. One thing they could probably do is provide football pitches, stadiums, and things like that, and fund those sorts of things. Or certainly businesses can, and maybe they could put like 10% of their budget into making Italian football proud and successful again. But working with FIFA and UEFA to make sure they do it within all the rules, and also the international community and whatever, making sure that it's always legal, above board, that kind of thing, whether it's FIFA rules, UEFA's rules, international rules, or whatever, and trying to make it as easy to invest in and sponsor Italian football as possible, providing tax exemptions, all these tax cuts. I'd love for Italy to be a tax haven, which would remind me of another idea, and also access to the Italian markets. And that probably could go on all day, but I'm going to end all night. That's technically a new day now, but I'm going to move on. I know I started this on the 13th because I thought like it's a selfish idea. Number 13 is partly like unlucky and negative, but also I think of scary stuff, but also selfish stuff. But moving on, number 34, once again, like investors and sponsors, even donors, people donating to provide pitches and stadiums and things like that. Italians having opportunities to play and practice against people from the diaspora, so it improves their game even in America, Canada, Brazil, and places like that, but also in Australia, but also even not just with the diaspora, but even like having competitions in China, India, Japan, Korea, Kenya, South Africa, and places like that. And I know Italian football has already done that, but I hope they'll do even more of that, especially at youth level. One controversial thing I was thinking about, I wonder, I hope this doesn't backfire, but I was saying if Italy, heaven forbid, doesn't make it this time, as the saying goes, heads should roll. I don't know if people use that saying overseas either, but I think people should be fired, or they should get a new group in, maybe a young group, and should go at least lose their bonuses or not get paid for the year or something like that if they fail to qualify for the third time in a row. I think there should be some sort of consequences to the top branch and people who run Italian football. Hopefully it won't happen anyway, and hopefully they will get through. But I think it'd be cool if they putting the team ahead rather than like having higher pay and looking after their bonuses. It's a bit like what they talk about with Celtic. So yeah, I think not doing it for the pay, not doing it for the P, as they say, not doing it for the pay, but doing it for, instead of just a pay packet, doing it for passion, for like being proud to see Italian football do well, and putting more money into Italian football. So like if I fear that if money, and this is a first world problem, as I say, but if there's money from the FIGC, the Italian FA's YouTube channel, TikTok or whatever, and also Serie A, the official YouTube channel for the Italian League Serie A, I fear that people will put that in their bank, in their pocket, so to speak, and pocket it in bonuses and pay rather than actually investing in those pitches. And I dream that there'll be like maybe even an account, another idea of mine that's probably very naive, but an account that sort of puts money into, make sure that they say that whatever money goes in there, at least 10% of that is going to be spent on improving the infrastructure, like the stadiums, pitches, and opportunities for Italians to play and practice football, most importantly. Another thing I was thinking of is like when I said about older people, especially ultras, people who get involved in hooliganism, smoking and drinking and taking drugs and things like that. I dream that Italians will stop doing that and instead be focused on like football and coaching and continue to learn from other teams, from life itself and whatnot. And I suppose by law you have to have your coaching badge, but maybe like there could be some sort of way where they just involve everyone, involve politicians, councillors, businesses, and the wider society, all of Italian society, getting behind the team, behind Italian football development, and it could give them a purpose. So they might think, instead of getting involved in hooliganism or whatever, I can have a purpose in life, which is to help Italian football to become the number one. So that can be something that I'm passionate about, rather than getting involved in hooliganism or crime generally. And that kind of thing. Probably should be careful what I say, but I love to kick hooliganism and crime out of football. I suppose there's a good football analogies as well, like boot it out, kick it out, and that kind of thing. Tackle those problems, kick them out, whatever, and like use football to tackle hooliganism, crime, global warming, climate change, and things like that. Which has reminded me of another thing I was saying before I move on to point number 35. I hope I don't forget anything, but I'd love to see, if I'm really dreaming, I'd love to see like a campaign. And as I often say, I know I've said this before, but I'd love to see like investors being discouraged to invest in wars and things like that. It reminds me of the biblical teaching, although I say I'm not that religious, but normally, but it does remind me of the teaching like swords into plowshares, but in this case, peace through football, if you like. swords or weapons, bombs into football instead. So discouraging investment and sponsorship into wars and weapons trade, but instead encouraging that investment and sponsorship into football, um, especially town football and Celtic, to be honest. No, I want to focus mainly on town football. But yeah, so I love to see like companies and investors like BlackRock, Cascade Investments, Bridgewater, Blackstone, Vanguard, Schwab Corp, and others, instead of investing in wars and weapons trade, if they do, for those that do, instead they can say we're divesting away from those and we're investing into football, peaceful football, and again, town football, and could work with FIFA and UEFA on that, as similar with Celtic as well. So town football and Celtic, I dream, would work with FIFA and UEFA, as well as like the neurodiverse community and people with mental health problems, to sort of say, like me, I as a mad person can, as a mentally ill person, can have a method to the madness, my creativity, same with my neurodiverse conditions, and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, divestment from wars and the weapons trade and investing into football. But as a fan of Italian football and Celtic, I particularly love that, to go to Italian football and Celtic instead. And I love for Italians to avoid wars and be a tax haven and be military neutral, a bit like the Swiss. But like the Swiss are the Swiss military neutral and that kind of thing for finances and banking and that kind of thing. People can store their money there or whatever and that kind of thing. But in Italy's case, it could be the football version of the Swiss. I'd love for similar with Celtic, I'll say. So yeah, these are some of my dreams for the future, of course. Or pretty much, I mentioned pretty much all my dreams for the future with the time football. I have a few other top secret ideas. I know I mentioned, I think it's in part 2, if you want to hear an idea I've got for like a little fun little game or tournament, or all these different practice exercises I've got, or at least one or two of them. I asked people to let me know, but they didn't post, so I think I'll leave that for like a top secret idea. Hopefully, if I get to go to Italy in the future. But yeah, I think that covers everything for point 34. So as I say, I hope that makes sense. I do worry whether people understand my mad mind way of thinking. So I say divesting away from wars and weapons trade to invest in tangible instead. I'd love for like Colgate and Cascade Investment to invest in Cagliari. So my useful iterations, for example, and Nissan to invest in Napoli. I think that's especially good. It's November. And neurodivergent people can see what we could do for town teams like Napoli, Torino, Fiorentina, Roma, and teams like that, and Italian generally, and that kind of thing. And moving on, number 35, as I love to go and travel to Italy, as well as Celtic, and like share my ideas. And I dream that I can be part of it and help to unite Italians and those from the diaspora, those of Italian descent, all around the world through football with Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, and that kind of thing. I suppose I think of Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians as being as being mixed race, as well as olive-skinned, so we can be a connection between them, I guess. But also a bit of a dilemma because like Brazil is quite mixed as well. I think we could have a friendly competition with like Malaysians and other mixed race people, like what I call Caramel or Afro-Europeans, could train with Brazil, but we could have practice matches together. So I'd love to see those tournaments in the future. I'm probably going off on tangents, I know, but yeah, that's what I was going to say, because they play in blue and people say in black, white, and blue. So I find that an interesting one. But that probably doesn't make much sense, but it's my quirky way of thinking, which is different to the norm, of course, but the norm, as they say. Yeah, as I said, in terms of like a purpose in life, I'd love for that to be part of my legacy, if I dare say that, or a life's purpose, life's mission, whatever you want to call it, I guess. Most importantly, and my bucket list. I love it to be on part of my book. Well, it is on part of my bucket list and my shopping list for life and that kind of thing. So I hope I can achieve those things and be part of it. And my ideas will be. I hope my ideas, amongst other neurodiverse people and people with mental health problems and whatnot, can contribute to Italian football being the best. I got to admit, when I was younger, in my naivety, for some reason I used to think I seemed to only think like I'm the only one with good ideas. Obviously, there were ideas way before I was born as well, and people say the most important thing is to put them into practice. Number 36, say I dream that I think I was going to say important 35 as well, but I dream that politicians, councillors, businesses, and the wider society in Italy, including former and current footballers, and the FIGC, the Italian FA, and Serie A, and those from all over Italy, and the diaspora, and Anglo-Indians, and other Eurasians, and neurodiverse people, and mentally ill people all work together, as many of us as possible, in the case of the latter especially, to benefit Italian football. And I said before, like about people from all over Italy subscribing to the Serie A channel, YouTube channel. I wonder if Italy could have this thing where every citizen in Italy would be automatically subscribed to the Serie A channel. But certainly I'd love to encourage it. I don't want to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do, but to be fair, maybe not everyone uses YouTube, but maybe they could be encouraged to do that, and therefore the money would be raised that could build more pitches and opportunities. But also Italians playing overseas in like more tournaments in China, India, America, Argentina, Brazil, and wherever they can travel. I guess there's only so much space and time, whatever. I was saying, like, I don't know if they still exist or they were reformed because I think they went bust, but Alitalia and other Italian transport companies, like even ferry companies, trucking companies, and certainly coaching and bus companies could help with like free travel for football, or reduced travel at least, to help people to travel from Italy. Like if it's somewhere in Europe, it could be through the ferries and whatnot, coaches or whatever. Whereas if they travel all the way to America, Argentina, Brazil, and other places to play against people from the diaspora, it could be through airlines giving reduced or even free travel in some cases for those involved in football. And different sponsorship ideas, again using neurodiverse creativity and mad creativity methods and madness, I'll say, to do that kind of thing. And basically Italians having as many practice opportunities as possible, uniting the country and those with the diaspora, from the diaspora, as with Anglo-Indians, Eurasians generally, and maybe as many mentally ill and neurodiverse people as possible. Again, I hope that makes sense. And number 37, the connection I talked about, I often say in part 4, like achieving what I talked about in parts 1, 2, and 3, such as, for instance, a partnership with Italian football, with Celtic. So my top dreams for football, other than fundraising and having fun and being part of it and all that kind of thing, is to see, hopefully with my ideas helping at least as much as possible, the Italian national team winning the most trophies, Italian club teams somehow catching up with and even going ahead of Spanish teams, La Liga teams, and EPL teams. I think at the moment La Liga teams are top, but in fact I think they've won like 10 more trophies or even more than that, and it's going to take a while because at the moment we're still not winning trophies in yet. So I dream that the world would last long enough for us to do that, and Celtic to win and continue to win the most Scottish trophies and maybe become the most successful team internationally in terms of domestic trophies, overtaking the Egyptian team Al Ahly, even though I love Egypt as well, but potentially, or certainly winning more than Rangers, most importantly. So I dream the Town Football and Celtic would have that partnership where they can practice and learn from each other and that kind of thing as well. And I suppose whatever ideas I have for Town Football, oftentimes I have similar and sometimes the same ideas for Celtic and vice versa. So yeah, I hope they'll practice together, especially at youth level. So Celtic hopefully will help the Italian national team to be as successful as possible, and Italian club teams, and then Celtic and Italian teams will hopefully help, including the national team and club teams, and Italians generally will hopefully support Celtic as one of their favourite teams and help them to become as successful as possible and continue success and doing well. I know Celtic is looking for a new manager at the moment, so maybe it could be an Italian manager, although I don't know which one they can afford. I know Ancelotti's with Brazil at the moment. Yeah, part of me would love to see Jurgen Klopp maybe managing Italy and struggle for Celtic and people like that. Wonder what Ange Postecoglou would do in Italian football. I don't think he'll go back to Celtic, but he did quite well with Celtic, so changing the style as well to a more attacking style, as I talked about as well, like seeing Italian football become more attack-minded. Number 38, there was something I was going to say and I completely forgotten again, so lost my train of thought. But yeah, I love to find all sorts of creative ways, even like through making money through movies, music, and all sorts of different ways to benefit Italian football, for instance, and to develop that passion. And it's really frustrating that I forgot an idea I was going to say. I think I was going to say point number 34 or something, but I've completely forgotten. Yeah, I hope Italian football can turn it around and win. Finally get to the get through the playoffs and get to World Cup third time lucky, but most importantly, make a miracle and win World Cup in 2026. That would be amazing. around 20 years since we last won it, and also which is what it will be next year in America, and also again in 2030, and hopefully 2034 and 2038, as many trophies as possible, basically. And that's what I was going to say. So I'm going to say in point number 39. Brain not working again, sorry. Damn it. My goodness, this is so strange, sorry. I dream that the world would last long enough for Italy to become the most successful, let's say, win the most World Cups. And that's so strange because I just remembered what I was going to say. I've completely forgotten again. Oh, yeah, each game. I remembered again, just can't remember what I say before I forget. Each game, I know I've got some tangents, but each game, I think, in the World Cup now should be like a final, like the playoffs, which I assume we're going to go to. I can't see Norway blowing it now. I don't know if they're officially through already, but I can't see us getting ahead of them. But I hope we can turn it around and make a miracle and win the World Cup, just like we did with the Euros in 2021, which was a year late because of COVID. But after failing to qualify for the World Cup, and then it went downhill again. But each game is like a final, I think now for Italy. So I think each World Cup game, I think, should be like a final. So I don't really care much for like the Olympics, other than getting there and playing younger players. But that's just a practice for the World Cup. The Euros, even, I don't even care about those. And I certainly don't care about friendlies. I think we should play fringe players to stake their claim into the team, and I think we should play the youngest players possible. In the Olympics and even Euros, and certainly in friendlies. I think we should use those as opportunities to play younger players. But each World Cup game, I think, should be like a final, each playoff or whatever. So I suppose we've got two finals. Well, I think we've got 2 or 3, maybe 4 finals, games that are like finals. And then I think the only time when it should not be seen as a final is like if let's say we get to the World Cup and we win our first 2 games, and the third game we could rest players and play younger players and that kind of thing, because we're already through. Again, we could rest our top players, play younger players, give them opportunities to practice and hope they don't get injured, which I suppose is always a risk. And as I say, life is a risk or whatever, and the numbers game or whatever, and that kind of thing, amongst other things. It's a pain in the neck sometimes, but they're trying to be more positive. I'd say for club teams, for Italian club teams, I think that each European or international game, European and or international game, is like a final, except for, again, if we play in like the Champions League, it goes back to the old group stages and win our first 2 games. Once we're already through, I think we can play fringe players and youth team players. But other than that, I think when there's games where it's like a knockout situation, or even like points where if we don't get a certain amount of points, we risk going out. I don't want to take that risk. But I think each World Cup game, pretty much, again, other than maybe the third game in a group stage we're already through or whatever, each other game I think we should take as seriously as possible, put 100% in and play as a team and put the team first, and team work makes the dream work. So yeah, each game, as I say, other than if we're already through, as we've got Euros, Olympics, and certainly friendlies, other than those, I think the others should be like a final. We should treat each game like a final, and similar with Italian club teams, like they're in the Europa League, Conference League, Champions League, World Club Cup, Super Cup is a final anyway. But yeah, I think they should treat each one as a final and sort of help Italian football teams to win the most trophies and do whatever they can to win the most trophies. In terms of like World Cups and in terms of head-to-head, in terms of winning most European and international trophies at club level, again, the Olympics, I think, should be just a good opportunity to play younger players, and I think the same for the Euros even, and certainly in friendlies. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. So point number 40, yeah, as I say, I hope that, most importantly, I dream that, again, for other people, it's first world problems, those who are not into football. Obviously, they don't know nothing, just kidding. But on a serious note, you could say it's first world problems, but it's something to work towards. I think it's good to have things that you work towards, which just reminded me of something I could have covered in point 23. I was thinking about it in the shower, but could have, should have, whatever. But basically, I was going to say, or I would have said in hindsight, but I only thought about it afterwards, as per usual. I'm dyslexic, I need extra time. But on a serious note, now I forgot my chain again. Thought. But yeah, it's a guilty pleasure that I want to see Italian teams do well because it's a selfish thing, which I talked about before. But I think even through that, Italian football could fundraise for a lot of good causes, again, to tackle poverty, illnesses, diseases, global warming, climate change, and all sorts of other things with charities and NGOs, FIFA and UEFA, and in return for running the image of the Euro game. But most importantly, I'd love to see, almost forgot my point, I'd love to see the Italian national team win the most World Cups. Again, I don't really care about the other trophies, but I think there should be, I was going to say an excuse, there should be a way to get younger players to practice for the World Cups, like Olympics, Euros, and certainly friendlies, Confederations Cups and things like that, and friendly tournaments and that kind of thing. And even when Italians play, I think they should think it's a practice for the future in many games. So most of the games outside the World Cup or Champions Leagues or things like that, Conference Leagues and Europa Leagues, the rest are just like practice games for the future, I guess. Although that does have a weakness to it in the sense that you can lose that winning mentality, that competitive mentality. But at the same time, I think if teams want to win now and they sacrifice like the future by saying we're not going to play the youth, we're going to play older players so we make sure we win with that experience. It doesn't always work. Like Spanish teams that develop the youth and they manage to win. France developed so many great players and they seem to win a lot. So I think to think about that, like they practice for the future, so the result doesn't always matter as much as like the performance and continuing to improve, and then hopefully the results will come in the most important games like the World Cups and things like that. But anyway, on that note, I am out. Peace and love.